The one who changed his deen, what we're going to do? Keep.
The last day will not come until the Muslims fight the Jews and kill them.
Our reporter, a Muslim herself, is going undercover in the most important and influential mosque in the country. London's Central Mosque, an Islamic cultural centre, usually known as Regent's Park Mosque, says it promotes tolerance and interfaith. We featured it in last year's dispatches, and the mosque promised to crack down on anyone promoting extremism on its premises. So she's going back to find out if they've been true to their word. Women aren't allowed in the main hall, so she's directed upstairs to the main women's section on a large balcony overlooking the hall. Hundreds of women and children come here to pray every day. Then the congregation gathers in a large circle. The teacher today is Amira. She says she's teaching from a book by Sheikh Fazan, a senior member of the official Saudi religious establishment.
This is very, very good book.
She starts with a revision session on what should happen to people who break Islamic laws, including Muslims who convert to another faith.
But he's Muslim and he gets out of Islam. He doesn't want any more. What we're going to do? Keep. Comes out of qatl, kill. You have to kill. You understand? We're talking about Islam. Yeah?
It's the same for adulterers.
For the had the zina, what is the law of this? Stoning. Until he died. And the one who is not married, get never died. Now, with 100 lash.
The worshippers, many of whom are children or teenagers, are being taught the Saudi Arabian interpretation of Sharia law from official Saudi books. The teachings include the brutal killings of homosexuals and women who act like men.
If someone make themselves like a man, a woman like a man, you understand this, the punishment is kill. Kill them from the highest place. And not going to be like animals, living like animals. Or to be like the people of Lut, we have to take the had is to kill them.
This causes a brief debate among the young students. One girl says they should also be stoned.
With the punishment of, throw them from the highest point and then stone them.
Another student says the punishment is approved by the Quran.
Then we reduced him to the lowest of the low. So if you throw someone off a mountain, you are reducing him to the lowest of the low because they're falling off from a high place.
In fact, punishments like throwing homosexuals from a mountain are nowhere mentioned in the Quran. It's a hardline interpretation taught in Saudi Arabia. Amira condemns terrorism and says these punishments will only be carried out in a future Islamic state under a Muslim leader, not in present-day Britain.
حتى ما نقول احنا راح نبدا نقتل في الناس لا هذا لازم يكون امير مسلمين ولما جيش المسلمين يقوى ويكونوا يحاربوا حتى الاسلام كله يعمل.
This fundamentalist interpretation of Islam is being taught in Britain's most important and supposedly moderate mosque. Our reporter finds out where Amira has been trained. She says she's just finished 3 years of study at Medina Mosque in Saudi Arabia. It's the second most holy mosque in Islam, and its imams teach Muslims an interpretation of the faith known to some as Wahhabism. Amira teaches what she says is an important principle in Islam. A Muslim must hate as well as love.
It's not enough that you worship Allah, we have to also, in our heart, hate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please to Allah, and love what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
She says this principle relates to living with non-Muslims.
Hate what displeases to Allah, especially when living with this country that's non-Muslim.
And asks a worshipper to read out a verse from the Quran,
Stand up and raise peace.
which she says is about relations between Muslims and non-Muslims.
Verily, we are free from you, and whatever you worship besides Allah, we have rejected you, and there has appeared between us and you hostility and hatred forever until you believe in Allah alone.
Mira says it means Muslims must separate from non-Muslims.
You understand, sister? Islam is التبرؤ من الشرك. من الشرك وأهله, the people who do the shirk. Any questions?
After the lesson, our reporter approaches Mira to ask her to clarify her teaching.
You know, when we talked about the love and enmity for Allah, how do we apply that? How as a Muslim do I apply that? Yeah.
Muslims should show good manners to non-Muslims and can try to convert them to Islam, but cannot befriend them. She uses the Arabic term kafir, meaning disbeliever or infidel.
To be good friend, give them all about our secret, understand? But you have to be friend with them. That is not allowed. Because the wala is only to Muslim, not to the kafir.
Mira says she's learned this doctrine of separatism in Saudi Arabia, whose clerics preach a brand of Islam often called Wahhabism. Wahhabism is opposed to the diverse and tolerant traditions of classical Islam, according to moderate British Muslims like Sheikh Musa Admani, an imam who's advised the government on Islam.
The Saudi Wahhabi worldview is very narrow. It's extremely intolerant. This extreme intolerance comes out of seeing non-Muslims as basically non-human. Intolerance, hatred, dislike, this is not Islamic teaching at all.
Separating from disbelievers is the official theology of the Saudi state, according to Saudi academic Professor Madawi al-Rashid.
The Saudi religious scholars adopt a very strict and radical interpretation of the status of a Muslim minority in a non-Muslim society. A true Muslim should not associate with infidels. So you are physically here, but mentally, socially, religiously, you belong elsewhere.
Now we've found this message of segregation being taught at the most important mosque in the country. It's visited by world leaders and even has its own interfaith department, which organizes visits from government, the civil service, representatives of other religions, and thousands of British school children a year. The mosque says the aim of these visits is to promote understanding and respect between the communities. Our reporter is filming as some of the interfaith groups are brought into the women's area.
So this is what we have in our heart. It's just
on this occasion, Mira meets them.
Let me know how to reach the way, the right way.
On another occasion, a group of non-Muslims is invited to sit down with the circle. The preacher promotes Islam to them, but talks politely about other religions too.
And the message, the Quran, came to confirm the truth in the previous scriptures.
But as soon as the interfaith group leaves, the same preacher's tone changes completely. She now says Christian teachings are vile.
And we feel nothing sometimes going past the church. We don't look at it in disgust and think, subhanAllah, what are these people doing in there? What they say with their tongues is so vile and disgusting. It's an abomination.
Like the other preachers in the circle, she says she's teaching from the works of the Saudi scholars. In this case, Sheikh Bin Baz, a former Grand Mufti of the kingdom. The teachings include that a Muslim cannot be tolerant of other religions.
He shouldn't just be indifferent and say things like, you go to church, I go to the mosque, let's all stay together like one big happy family and all be united as humanity. This is false, this does not work, this concept is a lie, it's fake, and it's a farce.
The circle preaches for 8 hours a day on Saturdays and Sundays. Any woman who goes there to pray is likely to hear their preaching. Our reporter is told the circle was set up years ago by Mira, but while she's been in Saudi Arabia, it's been run by this woman, Salim. She too preaches Saudi teachings. She says she's met a Muslim woman who is too friendly to non-Muslims.
When she sees a kafir woman, big smile. When she turns around, she sees me there. Yeah. It's part of Islam, of the aqeedah, of the correct belief, that you love those who love Allah, and that you hate those who hate Allah. Okay?
Although the preachers say Muslims should act well,
they would make sure that every person prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 5 times. Every woman will be covered, from the top to the toes, hijab. Otherwise, the police will just correct them.
He has a radical plan for this country. Muslims shouldn't accept British democracy.
Everywhere, king, queen, House of Commons. If you accept it, then you're a part of it. You don't accept it, but you have to dismantle it. So you being a Muslim, you have to fix it up. There we know what you call House of Commons. From that White House to this Black House, we know that we have to dismantle it.
Muslims must grow in strength, then take over.
You are in a what you call situation in which you have to live like a state within a state till you take over. But until this happens, you have to preach. Or you become in such a force that the people, they just submit to you. Hands up. Till you become strong enough that to take over.
It's an extreme vision that Muslims will one day take over Britain and bring about an Islamic state with Sharia law. Dr. Mian invites our reporter to visit Birmingham, where he's based.
We can come to you, you can come to us.
He takes him up on the offer, and a few weeks later they meet in Birmingham. Dr. Mian takes him to Sparkbrook Islamic Centre, where he wants to arrange a talk. The centre is run by the UK Islamic Mission, a major organisation dedicated to interfaith work. This is their annual conference last year in Birmingham. It runs over 45 mosques and branches in Britain and has 6,000 children in its part-time Islamic schools. The Prime Minister has said the UKIM is extremely valued by the government, particularly for its multi-faith and multicultural activities. Yet despite his radical views, Dr. Mian has worked with the UKIM and given talks at its events. At their annual conference, he was a guest on stage. Today, he's making a presentation to the UKIM committee at the Sparkbrook Islamic Centre. He suggests that the committee invites a small group of non-Muslims to the mosque and tries to convert them.
Every kafir has a right to Islam.
He says Muslims cannot accept non-Muslim rule.
You cannot accept the rule of the kafir kufr. We have to rule ourselves, and we have to rule others.
Although his radical beliefs are obvious, the UKIM committee is happy to go ahead with his talk.
We invite people, will you be available to speak to them? Of course. This is my full-time duty. Yeah, that's we organize it.
This whole delusion of the equality of women is a bunch of foolishness.
It's because she's 14 and because he's 20 for the law of the land.
Yeah, but he's okay.